Men to war!
Hammer!
Warhammer!
Warhammer 40K Gladius.
Relics of War
Is a turn-based 4X strategy game set in Warhammer universe. 4X strategy means the game allows the player to do 4 things: expand, exploit, exterminate, and explore.
The story is, Gladius Prime was once a planet of peace. But now there is nothing but war.
And you can play this game both single player and multiplayer. Both feels like a skirmish, so even though it's single player, there's some like light campaigning. It is still, you're going to set like how many AI you want to go against, or for the multiplayer, if one of these AI should be a real player, up till 16 players all together, and you can customize how big the map is, how the terrain is varied. And in the standard version of the game you can play 4 different factions.
Those factions are the Astra Militarium, the Space Marines, the Orcs, and the Necrons. But in the DLC you can add up to 5 other civilizations to have a choice of 9.
There's a lot of DLCs in this thing.
Yeah. And which faction you choose is very important for your gameplay experience, because not only do they have different appearances, different lore, different special abilities, but they also use the resources on the map differently. Those resources are a bit different than what you usually think of as like gold and wheat and food and things like that. One of the most important things is getting city resources, for example, population, influence, research, and loyalty that you need to build the essential buildings. The buildings help you get more abilities and resources that you need. For example, armories, obviously for troops, dormitories, chapels, libraries, each of which have a special function. Now, when you get your troops out there, they all have special characteristics, and there's a great range of troop variety for each faction. And for each one, they are affected by their number of hit points, of course, their armor, their morale, their experience, and these elements can have quite an important impact on the performance of that particular unit.
And of course there is even a research that has 10 tiers of technology, which unlocks new units, new buildings, and various bonuses.
There's a lot going on.
And all the maps, they are not specifically designed, they are all randomly generated.
And all of this just to emphasize that it is turn-based, not real-time, which means every time it's your turn, you can move all of your units, build your buildings, but then you have to click end turn for them to actually execute those orders. The enemy will have its turn. So if you're used to real-time strategy games where everything is happening at the same time, this might be more slow-paced, but also it can be more tactically challenging because you have to think about what's going to happen after your turn ends.
And even the visually, this game is like tabletop. It looks like a board game basically.
So that gives you the general idea of what this game has to offer, and that brings us to Should You Play It? But first, you should know that this game is completely free, and that's a big deal because it's usually about $40, but you will be able to get it for free from the Epic Game Store for 1 week starting March 16th, 2023. During that week, add it to your library, keep it forever, and that is what we do on this channel. We play and review every free game on the Epic Game Store, so subscribe so you never have to be bored again. So this is a tricky one for me because obviously, we are both reviewing this game because it is a weekly free game on the Epic Game Store, not because we know a lot about the Warhammer universe and the lore and all of this.
Even though we got to Warhammer before.
We have, and you've played more than I have, certainly. So from the perspective of someone who knows very little about the Warhammer 40K universe, I do like strategy games, more likely real-time strategy, but the tactics of this game are really engaging. And as is usual when we review Warhammer games, I can sense that there is this amazing lore underneath it all. Yeah. But again, this game does not go out of its way to explain or unwrap that lore for you. There are some cutscenes, like as you're learning to play the game, there will be story elements. But that's not a big part of the game, unfortunately, because I think that could be quite interesting for me. But as a newbie, I felt kind of lost in all of this. I think a big fan of the Warhammer universe would really like being able to play these factions. Yeah. The things that I really did like are the different combinations that you can, the combos that you can do with different units working together and discovering the synergies of the troops, and the possibility for like 3 or 4-way battles to break out that just are like amazing tactical chaos. However, not being very deep in the Warhammer universe and feeling really restricted by the turn-based element, also the way that resources are managed feels, I don't know, like you can't plan long into the future. It's more like you realize you're going to need something, so you get it, and then it's done, and like you move on. So I found that to be not very challenging, and there's pretty much just combat. There's not a lot else going. There's no diplomacy. Economic management is at a minimum. It's about fighting and these tactical battles. So those battles are good, but overall I found the game to be a little bit shallow. Personally, I'm going to have to say no, but I think a fan of the Warhammer universe could really enjoy it and should definitely claim it while it's free.
I agree, definitely. More deeper campaign and a little bit more of explaining would be definitely useful. It is very basic here. There's not much of a story. It's just some short animation and then a little bit of text, and that's it. So I also agree the fans of Warhammer will definitely like it. What they will not like, what I didn't like, there's a lot of DLC, which means there's just 4 fractions in the game, and there's 5 more if you buy separate DLCs, and there's some other DLCs as well. So it would be really nice to have everything at once. And as you said, I feel like, well, this is a very deep game, and it is like you are this general, and this is like on this map, and this is about strategy thinking, nothing less, nothing more. So you probably know if you are a fan of this or not, but I know that as a general gamer, I'm gonna say no, but of course you probably know if this is the game for you, and you don't have to care if we say no. If we say it like, should you play it if you never played Warhammer?
If you're wondering if you should play it, probably the answer is no.
Yeah, because I don't think just liking turn-based strategies is enough to enjoy this game fully.
I think so. And finally, something you mentioned about that it kind of looks like a board game. It is very much based on the Warhammer 40K board game. And I think for people who are fans of that board game and can't play it all the time with friends, this might be a perfect substitute. But if you don't want kind of a very well-developed digital board game of the Warhammer universe, this probably isn't going to be for you. But it's free.
And of course, we little like scratch the surface, but probably the best way is to play it with multiplayer. There's a lot of possibilities that you can play with just 2 players and against different fractions that AI takes over. So if you play it with friends, perfect.
And if you're interested in the Warhammer universe, but you feel like this might not be the place to start, we also reviewed Total War Warhammer, which is also complex, also in the Warhammer universe, but maybe more friendly for newcomers to the Warhammer universe. We have a review of that.
That one is quite complex too, it's complex, but it's got real-time combat, as well as the overall
it's like
strategy.
Overall turn-based and then real-time battles. I feel like it's more accessible. The genre is more accessible.
Well, I'm going to give you one more option, and that is the Warhammer Mechanicus that we also reviewed, and that was free quite recently. So check it out.
Very different genre also.
So check it out and see you next time.
Bye.